Today I'd like to introduce you to some idioms and expressions that we can use when we're talking about personality. So the first expression is down to earth. So if someone is described as down to earth, it means they are rational, they're sensible, they're level-headed or kind of even. It means that they're going to react to a situation in a calm and thoughtful way. So if you're down to earth, it means that you're quite balanced and you're not going to overreact or underreact. So for example, if you won the lottery, you're not going to go crazy and just spend all your money. You're going to kind of think about it and decide the best thing to do and then act in that way. So an example of using down to earth in a sentence, you could say, oh, Sarah is such a down to earth person. She never gets too worried or upset in a difficult situation. The next expression is a pain in the neck. And if you describe someone as a pain in the neck, then they are irritating, they're frustrating, and they make you annoyed or angry. You can also describe someone as a pain in the butt or a pain in the ass, but they're probably a little bit more slang or a little bit ruder than a pain in the neck. You can also describe a situation as being a pain in the neck. Some examples of pain in the neck, you could say, oh, my younger brother is such a pain in the neck. Why does he keep on bothering me? Or you could say, oh, this course is such a pain in the neck. I really don't want to study today. The next expression is a wet blanket. And if you're a wet blanket, it kind of means you're unenthusiastic and you don't really have too much fun. So being a wet blanket is not a good thing. A wet blanket might discourage enthusiasm or kind of see the worst in a situation. So in general, a wet blanket is going to kind of bring the atmosphere down. So maybe some people are going to be really excited about something, but a wet blanket will point out the kind of negative in that situation. So an example could be you're talking to a friend and you say, oh, don't be such a wet blanket. The carnival's going to be really fun. Come on, let's enjoy it. The next few examples that I'm going to give you are all using or relating to animals. And in English, and I'm sure in other languages, we like to compare people and their behavior to animals. So the first one is a dark horse. So if someone is described as being a dark horse, it means that this person may be very skillful or very good at something, but they keep that talent quiet. So you may have a student in your class who is very, very good at that subject, but they don't show it off. And then eventually in the exam, they do very, very well. So a dark horse is someone or something that you don't expect to do very well, but in the end, they do very well. So you can also say like a soccer team or a football team is a dark horse in the competition. The next expression is being a social butterfly. So if you're described as a social butterfly, it means that you're extremely sociable. Maybe you're quite charming, you're good at conversation, you enjoy hanging out with people. All of these things are quite good. But if you're a social butterfly, it also means that you don't really have your own friendship group and you go from different group to different group and everyone likes you, but you don't necessarily have a kind of deep or tight friendship group. So being a social butterfly could be seen as a good thing or a bad thing. It definitely means that you're sociable, but also maybe it means that you don't have deep relationships and your relationships are quite superficial. The next one is an eager beaver. This is quite straightforward. So an eager beaver is hardworking, they like to do a good job, very enthusiastic about doing their work. And lastly, we can say that someone is a party animal. And if you're a party animal, it just means that you love to party and you go out all the time. So, oh, John is a party animal, he goes out every night. So there's two more expressions I want to talk about now. And one of them is wouldn't hurt to fly, and the other is bark is worse than their bite. So if you describe someone as being someone who wouldn't hurt a fly, it just means that that person is very gentle and they don't want to do any harm to anybody. So if you wouldn't hurt a fly, it means that you're not gonna cause any offense or harm to anyone, even to a fly. And finally, the expression his or her bark is worse than his bite. It is used to describe somebody, quite often a teacher or a senior, who is quite aggressive. So they might shout a lot and they might be quite scary. But the reality is they're not actually a bad person, and they're quite kind and soft-hearted underneath. So if someone's bark is worse than their bite, initially you might be kind of cautious or afraid of that person, but later on you realize that they're a kind person, they have good intentions. So for example, you might have a situation at work where the boss seems really angry, but he's not. And so there you might say, oh, don't worry about Tony, his bark is worse than his bite. He's actually quite soft and kind-hearted. So that's all for today. We learned a number of expressions that we can use when describing people and their personality. So they were down to earth, a pain in the neck, a wet blanket, a dark horse, a social butterfly, an eager beaver, a party animal, and we can describe someone as they wouldn't hurt a fly and their bark is worse than their bite. Okay, thanks for watching and see you next time. Bye bye.